Welcome, everybody. Episode number 32 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I am Eddie Podge, your host. This is my co-host,
Mark Simpson. Happy Monday, Ed. Nice to see you again.
Happy Monday to you, too. Why are we here, Mark?
We're here to educate a younger generation
why?
on sales tips, because we're good people.
That's part of it.
And we're grinders. And we're out there every single day, and we could share tips with people to help them get a little bit ahead. I feel like we feel good doing it. And like I said, I'm kind of the tag along here, so I appreciate you're kind of the driving force of this.
That is the sole purpose of the book. And I went to a conference last week for 3 days, and I feel like I took all the tools from my book, and they were on full display. We'll get into some more of them, but, being able to make that instant connection with somebody.
On something.
Yeah,
right.
And I'll skip to the sports end of it. We'll talk about the other stuff afterwards. So the sports end of it come the last night we're together after 3 nights, drinking, having a great time. We talk about where we went to college, and he was a hurricane. The U. I've been a U fan since I'm 17 years old.
Right.
It took our relationship from here to here. And that's what sports can do. You could have all this commonality in business and this, and all of a sudden you bring the sports into it.
Right.
And you connect on your favorite team, whatever it is, and it just made, and you, like the guy hit me up on LinkedIn, yo, Kane's #1. I'm like, yeah, now it's a friend.
Right. Let me surprise you. Guess where my mom went to school? The U.
Did she really? Back in the day?
My mom's a hurricane. Back in the day, when it was $2,000 to go to versus $95,000. Yeah.
So mom's a U. Excellent.
How about that?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So sports moment. Is there any other? Game 6?
Game 6 was fantastic. And it was perfect, literally, it was almost like a fantasy because you got to relax.
Yeah, you didn't have to grind it out to the end and pray that someone didn't make a stupid foul.
You even had the players telling Thibault, it's all right, it's time to get out. With 5 minutes left, they're up by 30. Yeah, so that was nice. The only problem was they celebrated too much. It's like, guys, all right, we got Indiana.
On the sports line today, all they were talking about how quiet Indiana was.
Right.
So,
right.
But you know what? Save it a moment.
Right. And then obviously we could talk about Subway Series as well.
Yeah, last night was a little bit of a bummer. But
yeah, so here's what I'll say. If you remember Lindor's first year as a Met, it wasn't great. If you remember Beltran's first year as a Met, wasn't great. I don't like the body language. What are you going to do?
He'll get there.
It is what it is right now.
He's going to get there.
We're not going to panic.
All right. So everything's tied into what I did this week. Chapter 9 is networking. The value in networking the right way. At a conference this past week, there was nothing going on until 7 p.m. at night. And at 7 p.m., the big welcome shindig happens.
Right.
And there's 150 people that I've never met before in my life, except 2 people. The 2 people that recommended I go to this conference. So I had that, I had 2 people.
Right, there you go.
It was a theme night. Everybody was dressed up in rock and roll. Their first concert was the theme. What was your first concert? Try to dress, with a T-shirt or something.
What was your first concert?
Outlaws, Molly Hatchet.
I can't speak on that, but okay.
You?
I hate to admit it. I think it was Hootie and the Blowfish.
Okay, I've seen them.
Yeah.
So, after spending all this time with that 3-hour, I'm like exhausted. I'm like, I gotta go eat, man. The food wasn't great. I'm like, I go to the bar, sit down, and there's a guy there I had said hello to. Well, an hour later, this guy is interested in me coming to visit his sales team via Zoom or in person to motivate them. Because in our conversation, I pointed out what he did wrong in sponsoring the event that we were at. He was a sponsor. And I said, oh, did you get this? And he's like, oh, I didn't think of that. And I'm like, well, what about this? Did you do that? And he's like, fuck no. He was proud of himself for sponsoring, but he wasn't lasered in on getting everything he should have for that sponsorship. And it was like, how do you know this stuff? I'm an author, and this is what I do. And right there, he went on Amazon and ordered the book.
That's great.
And he said, would you come in? I'll pay you, tell me what you want, and just do a networking program. I said, yeah, absolutely. That meant that my networking was spot on. That meant that what I was doing
was working.
Yeah. The afternoon lunch, very nice older woman sits down next to me. 45 minutes we're together. I find out that she works for a very large construction company. She is the operating manager / president of the company. $500 million construction company. She wasn't the catch. Her husband was.
What do you
Found
do?
out that he was an engineer for the state of North Carolina.
Okay.
And he has a lot of input in projects that are going up and bids that are going out.
Right.
And has a lot of influence on vendors.
Right.
So again, wheels are turning, trying to get her to come on the podcast as a, warm gesture,
Yeah.
so to speak. She took it, loved the idea. And I told her when she was just about to leave, I said, I'm doing this for many different reasons. I want to help you, you know that, because I want to help the girls, my kids, but I want to meet your husband. She goes, I know that. So,
And at least you're honest. Yeah. Right.
if you don't ask for it,
You don't get it.
you don't get it.
Right.
So you don't have to be all about the business, but when it's time, you got to ask for the business.
Yep.
And if you don't, you're a fool. The action statement from the chapter, it sounds crazy. Make real connections. Even if you only make one for an entire 150 people in a room.
That's where. Yeah. If you make one real connection at a show like that, it's worth the price of admission for sure.
And I laugh because I made many great connections, but the last one happened on the last minute of the last event of the last day.
Right.
Walking out the door, one of the guys that was on a panel kept on hearing about a $35 million renovation to his office to get people to come back to the office. And I was like, we didn't get to talk. And I'm literally going out to my Uber. I said, I want to let you know, though, but your panel presentation was spot on. I loved it. I said, what office is spending $35 million on gyms and this and that? And he goes, global mobility. I'm like, that rings a bell. You've worked with pods in the past. He goes, not me personally.
I feel like the mobility kind of gives it away.
Yeah. I said, he said to me, no, but hit me up on LinkedIn. Let's have a conversation and see if there's anything we can do together.
Right.
And one of the rules at these conferences, no card giving.
Mm-hmm.
It's shamed, and they actually tell you on a loudspeaker they don't want you doing that kind of stuff. And I said, I did this, and I had my card, and I'm like, is it all right if I give this to you?
Right.
It's like, yeah, why? I'm like, hey, I play by the rules.
Exactly.
I said, do you have a card? Nope, I don't carry one. So I couldn't remember his name. And then I got back to the office today, and I'm like trying to find it. And finally, I just emailed someone I knew, and I said, who is the guy that did this? Sure enough, I found him. But again, making the real connection and following up.
Right.
Like, I was right on it. The guy gave me the door. The door's open. Either you step through or you don't. Another week, he'll forget you.
Yep.
He was the main attraction. I was not.
Yep.
So,
you capitalize on it. There you go.
yeah. So, trade show tips.
Well,
Go.
let me give you a curveball. You ready for this? So I have this trade show. I told you, we mentioned this the last couple weeks in Texas. Coming up, big show. Not only that, potentially M&A opportunities. So how do you balance? So I have a calendar that has a lot of events on it. I have kids. So it turns out I'm all booked. Basically letting everybody know, hey, I'm going to be in Texas trade show. I'm booking up my meetings. It turns out I screwed up my calendar.
JB?
It's not JB. It is moving up ceremony for my daughter.
Oh.
I said, now, I'll be honest, 20 years ago, I didn't have kids 20 years ago, but 20 years ago, I'd be like, whatever, But now, 2 minutes, I was like, all right, I'm not going to the trade show. Canceled everything. And so to me, when I let people know, I said, guys, look, this, no problem, blah, 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 this is what it is. And I was honest. But it was one of those things where you're like, because you arrange flights and meetings. And then when you're like, guys, I screwed up. So I just went through that last night.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't envy you.
Well, yeah, and I don't feel, and again, you're at a different point in your career where, younger version of this would probably be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to miss it. Now it's like, listen, it is what it is.
I don't want to miss anything.
I'm not missing a thing. So my
trade show tip is to double check your calendar.
Double check your calendar. And what I always tell people is your personal life doesn't necessarily care about your professional life. When people say, oh, just, when you go to your person, oh, well, tell them to do a meeting at a different time. It doesn't work that way. So my tip would be, don't be afraid to really double check your calendar, and don't be afraid to put your personal life ahead of your business life at times.
My quick tip is stay near during breaks. Don't bolt out of there. A lot of good things happen on the breaks.
Oh, yeah. So on a phone, yeah. You know where else a lot of good things happen? The hallways.
Right. Well,
yeah. Most, a lot of our deals or negotiations all start in the hallway.
Yeah, it's just a key takeaway. I was watching the room, seeing who the players were, seeing where they were going, and you could see other people just bolting. Some of them for cigarettes, some of them for whatever. And it's like, again, being focused.
It's crazy. People still smoke cigarettes.
People still smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
All right. Networking tip. I'll go first on this one. If you're there, be active. If you're at the event, conference, trade show, be active.
Right.
Don't be on your phone. Don't be somewhere else.
Right.
Be present. Be active in maximizing your time. You're there for a reason. I took off Friday. I flew back. Had to get an 8 o'clock flight. By the time I landed in my house, it was 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I already gave 48 or so hours. I gave my time. I'm done. And you got to know when to do that as well. Giving everything you got for 48 hours or 72-hour turnaround. You just sacrificed your family. You didn't see your kids, your dogs, all that fun stuff. And I want to make sure that I reward myself when I know I did a good job, because I have to.
Right.
The company's not going to do it for me.
Yeah, well.
All right. What's your tip?
You ever hear this phrase, don't judge a book by its cover?
Yeah, sure.
So you could walk around a networking room, right? And you could see people that don't look like you think are kind of wacky or whatnot. Some of those connections, don't be afraid to meet the different people that you think are out there. One of the things that I pride myself on is I think I'm the type that can be at the board level or out in the field. Now, I might not do good work out in the field, quite frankly, but in essence, it's just we're all the same.
Right.
And I think that's kind of an interesting part when you get thrown into these things. We had an interesting thing at the Comac Chamber. We had a different crew of people, and it was hearing everybody is just interesting. And I think keeping an open mind to no matter what position or whatever role that person might play, you never know how things shake out.
It is tequila time, and with tequila, we'll bring out a special guest, Eliot Lonardo from Signature Realty right here in Huntington. I think you've met him before.
Yep. Superstar realtor.
We will be back in 5. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 32 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Potts. This is my co-host,
Mark Simpson.
And this is our special guest, Eliot Lonardo from Signature Realty. Signature, I did that on purpose.
Yeah, and it's Eliot Lonardo.
Okay, then why was she saying Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles?
We were saying
it was a mistake. Yeah, she was joking.
We'll be able to laugh about this one for a long time.
Well,
anyway, you came in on Tequila Time.
Tequila Time.
I will share with you what Tequila Time is about.
All right, here we go.
There you go. Oof. So Tequila Time is about old and new, the way we used to do things compared to the way we do them now. What is so different? Are the new ways more effective? Are the old ways still effective? So I picked something out from the conference I just came back from. And I hadn't seen this before. I mean, I go to a lot of conferences. You get your lanyard with the name of the event.
Little badge.
Little badge. Maybe you get a couple of drink tickets in there. And you think that, you're, okay, I'm here. When I went to my event, they had my picture on it. They had the title of the thought was about music, and they wanted everybody's first band. What was your first concert? That was what it was. So they actually had that listed there too. And as I didn't realize that was the theme, I didn't connect the Reload-Palooza to that.
Right.
And people were coming up to me. First concert was the Outlaws, huh? Most of these people were a lot younger than me, so they were more in the the 90s and 80s, where mine were the 70s.
Who's the Outlaws?
Exactly. Who are the Outlaws?
Right.
So I felt that was just a really creative new way of engaging people at a show where a lot of people are complete strangers. And for me, I was a stranger than anybody, 148 people that I didn't know, I was a stranger to. And they could, look at your lanyard and see something about you if they wanted to talk to you. So that's my old and new for the week. I brought you in on this because you have a lot of experience, and I'm all about sales. And with being about sales comes, what was your big win of the week? What was your big win last week?
I didn't have a big win last week.
No?
I was a grinder last week. And some weeks you don't have big wins. And being honest with the audience, some weeks are good weeks, some weeks you're grinding. And last week we were a grinding week.
For me, the big win was the last minute of the last hour, the last person I saw at that conference. Being able to, as I'm walking out the door, get a guy's name, get a connection, and him say, please reach out to me. It doesn't always happen like that, and people aren't always so forward, but I guess, and again, you've said this, I make people comfortable. They want to hang out, they want to talk, and when you compliment someone, it also makes them feel really good. And it wasn't fluff, because the guy had done a really good panel, and the panel was on how do you get people to come back from working remote, and all the fuss that's being made that we're paying you and we have empty offices, and he did a 45-minute presentation on
I think
that.
You're going to see more and more of that too. How do you get people to come back?
Well, what they're doing, and this was what was so unique about him, his company actually built a gym in their place. They built a daycare in the place. They have a cafeteria in the place, all part of you coming back to work.
You're remote or are you in an office?
I mean, I work out of my car mainly.
Right. So
he's remote.
If I'm in the office, I'm not making money.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
I'm a road warrior.
Right, and same like you, mostly remote too.
Yeah.
So you have that challenge too. Is I feel like there's a level of inefficiency if you go into an office. I get the need.
Yes.
But it's that balance of what makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, one of the bigger pushbacks was, the camaraderie, the collaboration. And some people are saying, okay, so everyone came back and they're collaborating over there, but no one's really collaborating as a whole. The Zoom calls do bring people together in a bigger fishbowl, which I understand because I'm on 3 or 4 of them every week, and I could really, reach a broader audience than I could. I haven't been in an office in 15 years, so I don't know anything about it. What was your big win of the week?
Coming back from Disney World, my daughter turned 10. And we celebrated there, and it was miserable. So I was happy to be back.
Miserable at Disney?
Yes.
Was the weather bad?
The weather was pretty bad. It was hot, very humid.
Crowds?
The crowds weren't terrible this time of year, but the rain, a lot of rain, so it was a lot of walking.
Did the kids have fun?
My kids definitely had fun.
Okay.
So I was happy that they did, but I'm a workaholic, so I like being home. I like working and doing my thing. One of my wins last week was I did put a house in contract. That doesn't happen often. Got people contacting me on social media via Facebook Messenger. They were looking for a house, and I showed them one house and they bought it, and that very rare. So it
is very rare. That's a big win.
That was a win for me. We went to contract last week while I was away, so it's always nice when you're earning a living while you're not in the state.
Can I just say too, this is the second time we met, but I feel like I know you because your social media game is so outstanding.
Well, thank you.
And what you mentioned too is what people recommend. It's not all about real estate.
Correct.
But I feel like I follow your business. I feel like you're like the local expert in real estate here in the market, and then also get the chance to know that you're a Met fan and an Islander fan and whatnot. So I feel like
to me, real estate is my passion, and my family. They are very important to me as well, and enjoying my life. There's no point of working and being successful if you cannot enjoy
100%.
Well, you're not completely successful until you do. In my eyes, you could have all the money, but if you're not happy and not intimate with your family.
No. Listen, I'm very blessed. My wife and I have been together 21 years, and she supported me from the very beginning.
Well, you've been in real estate 21 years?
21 years.
Really?
Yep.
So you were at Tequila Tuesday.
Yep.
He was there.
Okay. So maybe it's the third time we met.
That's what I was going to say.
But so you, right out of school, you went right into real estate?
No. So I graduated in 2000 from LIU, and for 4 years I worked in sales. I worked for an electronics distributor, and then 2003 my mentor said I should get my real estate license. 2004 I started part-time, and then 2005 I quit my job, and I was living at home. We had no children. It was a simpler life. And I took the dive, and I've never looked back. So this is my 20th year of being a realtor full-time. And
all right, we need to finish off our questioning before we do the Q&A. What was your best business decision of the week? And I have a feeling it was canceling the trade show.
My best business decision was putting my family first. And, you know, again, those are mistakes. I won't say mistakes, experience. As a younger person, I probably was one of those 85, 90-hour work week guys that would just, it wasn't even a thought. Now, as you approach older years, more experience, hey, it is what it is. Yeah. And every now and then, you got to, it's not negotiable.
You know, me deciding to go to that conference just, again, took me out of my comfort zone, put me in a room with strangers, and I feel like the luckiest guy in the world leaving there.
Yeah, that's great.
Even though I only met 4 or 5 people, those 4 or 5 people were home runs. And they could further the pods business, but they could further my life. So, it's not always about making money from people. It's just making new acquaintances in this world. Like, I know if I go to Ohio, I got a friend to go hang out with and have a drink. And, you know, going to Ohio is not out of the question for me, knowing my schedule.
Right. To follow up on that, you know, my secret has always been relationships. And I always tell people, if you're coming into real estate for money, you're in the wrong business.
Correct.
All right. It is relationships, it is referrals, and then money. But, you know, I never make money my driving force. You know, I'm an authentic person, and people can tell whether you're authentic.
They know. You
know, or you're a BSer. And to me, I'm in the happiness business. People will tell you, like, you know, I want to make people happy. There's no pressure or stress from me. You know, as long as you're loyal to me, I will spend as much time as needed trying to find you a house or helping you sell your house, you know, whenever you decide to sell your home. But to me, number 1 is relationships. Number 2 is referrals. And then, you know, the money aspect.
I like your tagline. I'm in the happiness business.
I am the happiness business.
That's a great tagline, yeah.
You know, it's true. You know, I mean, when someone buys a home, like, I want them to be happy. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to be miserable.
You know, as a realtor, you have a lot of arms in the business, as well as I do on the moving part. Got a call. This referral was from my cousin, who I moved from PA to Jersey 10 years ago. Neighbor down the street said, your cousin Howard told me to call you. Turned into a 1 phone call close, moving from Mammoth, New Jersey down to South Florida. And she calls me hysterical this morning. Eddie, this is just too much. I can't take it anymore. I'm like, did I do something?
Yeah.
You know, right away. That's my thought. What did I do?
What
did I do? She goes, no, but I need to change all the dates. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's get your account up. We get her account up. Boom, bam, boom. 10 minutes later, I'm like, are we good? She's like, yeah. I said, did you do the rental agreement? It's really important you do, because your container will not ship unless you do that. She goes, I don't remember. I'll go online right now. Let me go online. I go into her account. I'm like, you're all good to go. She's like, there's just one thing off my plate today that I don't have to worry about again.
Yeah.
And I'm that person, and I get to do that for people, and I hear it in their voice how happy they are that they had a person to talk to,
right,
and get their shit taken care of.
Yeah, no, and that's you know, to me, you know, and when you started this, when you in the introduction, you were talking about, you know, technology and old school, and I'm old school. I'm a phone call kind of guy. I love talking to people. You know, you have a problem, call me. Don't text me. Don't email me. Let's get on the phone and let's work this out and make sure you're happy.
It's interesting because I get, you know, sometimes I meet somebody and then all of a sudden I get a random text from them.
As if you should know their phone number.
Right. It's kind of like, I don't think I'm old school, but I guess I'm getting old, so I'm old school. But I kind of feel like there's like a level of
etiquette.
Yeah, like I always encourage, make the phone call
first.
Phone call.
Yeah. Absolutely, because there's emotion behind my voice. You know, there's no emotion on a text message.
Right, you can't tell what you can't tell the context.
You know, I was helping a cop years ago, and I would text him, and I guess he was interpreting my text as like being angry. And there was no anger there. I mean, so I was like, you know what? When it comes to you, I'm just going to call you on the phone because you can hear my voice and you'll know that there's nothing wrong.
A lot easier, yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's almost like dating. All of a sudden, like you just made a phone call, and now you're getting these random texts, or you don't even talk to the person, you start getting texts, and it's like I kind of feel like you crossed like that line.
So at the show, I told you I was at lunch.
Yep.
The first day I'm there, met this very beautiful, very nice woman who we spent 45 minutes together. And when we went to leave, I said, I'm really serious about you coming on my podcast. Do you have a card? She said, no, I don't. I said, can I have your number? I actually asked her for her phone number because lots of things were going through my head with her and her business, her husband's business, being on the podcast. It was just so exciting that I wanted to make sure I didn't lose her.
Right.
And she said, yeah, absolutely. And I didn't hit her back. She texted me, how was your show? It's like, that was very nice of her to do so. And then right after I texted you about coming on the show, I texted her, and she's like, sweetheart, I need longer than 3 days. I need 3 weeks to prepare for something like this. I'm like, okay. But, that was the vehicle that was okay with her.
Right.
So again, it's the person. It's some people want that short, quick answer in a text. But if you're hunting, that's not how you hunt.
Well, it's kind of like if you wanted to get all short, quick sales, you'd probably never be in business, right?
Never.
It's the patience.
I mean, it's planting seeds. I mean, certainly, like I sold a house last year in Dix Hills for $1.3 million. I started speaking with my client in September of 2022.
Okay.
And every month I'd follow up with her.
You held on for that long. That's amazing.
And then finally, like last summer, she's like, we're getting closer, Eliot. We're almost there. And then the end of August, she's like, I'm ready.
And when it pops, it makes you feel so good because you knew it was coming. You just never knew when.
But that's the thing I feel about, being in, real estate is that you have a lot of realtors who think it's quick, it's easy, it's fast. And, some of the deals, it's just planting the seed. And again, just continuously following up, having that conversation, month after month, so they know that you're there for them, and that when the time is go time, you are ready. But so many realtors it's like I called them once, and I'm like, well, call them again. I mean, until someone tells me to bleep off, I'm gonna.
Let me ask you a question because you mentioned this before about your services, but you used the word loyalty that you expect, rightfully so, by Ed, loyalty. So last week I got a call from corporate, and they said, oh, this company, Detroit Supply, called into the office. They were looking to get some pricing, and I'm like, I fucking emailed them yesterday. No bullshit. Hadn't spoken to them since December because I'm not the pressure guy. I'm the guy we had 2 45-minute phone calls. We had project proposals sent. Everything on a big portion. I was fucking annoyed. And I honestly, when we got on the call, because I got him on the phone, I'm like, can I just ask you why you didn't call me? Kind of bothers
Did you read the email?
He didn't see the email.
There you go.
And he goes, what a coincidence that you emailed me the night before I needed to reach back out to pods. And I'm like, that still doesn't explain why you didn't call me.
I mean, listen, have friends and family, have they been disloyal to me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. For a brief moment, it does hurt.
Yeah.
Because this is the way I earn a living.
Right.
My family, my wife, my kids.
But you didn't use me to buy you home.
Yes, and it does hurt. I mean,
does.
I've had, in 21 years, I can't say, I haven't been hurt. I mean, certainly there are people that I've done a phenomenal job, and then, all of a sudden their cousin gets their real estate license and they're going to go sell their house and they use that person. I mean, I have no control over so much.
I mean, I think it's really competitive, right?
It is competitive, but to me, we spend a lot of time investigating, vacations, buying a new car, going to a restaurant, looking at the menu. You should know, you should investigate your realtor.
Yeah.
Go
100%.
on, Google my name, and you'll see I have 30 plus 5-star reviews, and I sell homes. I mean, I was on a listing appointment a few months ago. I did get the listing, but my seller was like, well, my friend's a realtor, but she's also a door dasher, and she's a dog walker. And I'm like,
Jack of all
is
trades,
this who you really
master of
want to be like, this is all I do. This is 24/7 I'm a realtor. and this is all. I have no side hustle. I have no other ways of
Actually,
earning an
your
income.
side hustle is your volunteerism. So you start loading him with the questions about his volunteerism.
Oh, no,
the government.
Yeah, it's
Listen, you know what? I'm involved with a lot of different organizations. I'm involved with my town of Huntington. I serve on a number of boards, and I am grateful for all of that because you know what? That's my community.
Yeah.
And
which you grew up in.
Correct. Yes, I've been in Huntington. I sell throughout Long Island and Queens, but Huntington, I've been there. Next month will be 47 years of my life.
Wow.
I live in the same school district I went to. My kids will also be Wildcats. And it's been very good to me. I mean, I'm probably one of the top realtors in the town of Huntington.
Wait, you said Wildcats. Weren't you the Blue Devils?
No, I'm South Huntington School District.
Oh. Didn't realize there was a difference.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah. In the town of Huntington, there's 8 school districts within the town of Huntington.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I was a Wildcat.
Right, and 125 districts across Long Island.
Yes.
Yep.
But I'm very involved in my school district. I'm very involved with the town of Huntington. I'm very involved with a number of organizations. But you know what? Being in the people business, I love helping people.
How did I guess if we can't go? So we were talking. So you went into real estate. You were a sales guy. Went into real estate.
Yep.
And only a couple of years before kind of going through the recession.
Correct. So when I started out in the real estate business, I knew nothing. I had nothing. I met up with a gentleman just out of sheer luck that was in the rental business. And I started my career in the rental business. I was the rental king for many years. And then through the rental king, I'm now the sales and rental leader.
So you still do rentals now, or no?
I still do rentals now.
Right.
Is that your side hustle?
Yeah, it's part of real estate, So it's within the realm. But I was very lucky that from 2008 to 2012, during the recession, I was doing 80 to 100 rentals a year. So, I was really kind of unaffected by the downturn, and that really,
She wrote it out.
and grinded it out.
Yeah.
And certainly, I'm grateful today that I'm still in it. The average realtor's lifespan is about 2 years. 83% of all realtors drop out within 24 months because they watch television, and again, they think it's
I think it's all glamorous. It's so easy
glamorous,
to sell, right?
it's easy.
I'm going to flip a house.
What do you think when you have a buyer? What's the average time for you working with a buyer?
Well, again, when I have my initial consult, we sit down either in my office or Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, and motivation is always the most important word to me. Like if you are living at home and whenever you find a home, I'm not your guy. I want to know that hey, we have the.
You want to move.
We have the plan.
Right.
We find the house, Eliot. We're gonna put an offer in. We're ready to go. You're pre-approved. That's number one. I'm not taking out tire kickers if they're not pre-approved anymore. It's we got to have
There's a way you do business.
the ducks. Everything has to be in a row. And again, if you're living in your parents' basement, you're yeah, if I find a house, I find a house. I'm not your guy. I am.
You're the guy to actually make stuff happen.
Correct.
Right.
And you have standards.
I do have standards.
Which I appreciate very much so.
And again, listen, you want to go realtor shop? Go realtor shop. That's fine. There's 32,000 of us.
I would assume there's relatively kind of difficult conversations, especially if, with the market in Long Island now.
Yeah, it's an auction.
Part of as a buyer coming in, it's almost like, well, how much cash do you have to put down? Right? It's like at that level, are setting expectations and saying.
Well, expectations are very. that's critical.
Yeah. So
talk us through that. For example, if you come to me and say, Eliot, I'm a $700,000 buyer. In this market, you're probably looking at homes are generally going between 5 and 10% over asking price.
Still.
But
is $700,000 in Huntington the same as $700,000 in Manor? Do you?
No, it's all relative. So just to, where the locations you're looking to be in, it all changes. But at the end of the day, the strategy of your budget is no more than $700,000. So how do we accomplish that goal? So, we have to go lower.
Start in the fives.
So we'll start in the, low sixes, high fives, so this way you have that cushion that if we do have to,
Well, fix it. So if I'm your consult, my first question would be, okay, so $700,000, does that mean I'm still putting in money to fix it up? And then naturally, my next question would be like, okay, what do you think a kitchen's going to cost me? What do you think a bathroom? I'm assuming these are all kind of the standard questions.
I mean, but it all depends on, you know, each house is different. Each transaction, no transaction. At the end of the day, I'm in the real estate business, but each transaction that I procure is all different because everybody has different. Like some people, like, okay, you know, I'll spend $650 and I will, you know, fix the kitchen, or like they're a handy person. So it really comes down to the individual. Or like, you know, oh, my parents are going to give me a gift and they're going to, you know, build, you know, buy me, you know, have a new bathroom built for me.
Right.
So
right.
it really depends on the individual. I mean, that's what we're really focusing on, and their needs of, like, some people, you know, they want a high ranch. Some people don't like high ranches. Some people want a colonial. Some people want bedrooms all on the same level. Where a Cape, you're going to have 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor. Some people want a garage. Some people don't care about a garage. So, you know, when we're meeting at our consultation and I'm doing the data sheet, you know, I'm setting expectations for myself. I'm setting, you know, expectations that we both have for each other.
Question. Do you have more buyers or more sellers?
So at this point in my career, I'm a listing agent. I would say I'm 70% listing and 30% buyers.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, I'm never going to turn down a buyer referral. I mean, pretty much I work only on referrals at this point. Like, for example, you know, 2 of my houses I have under contract that I just put under, you know, I'm helping those people buy a new house. So
Is there more money in one than the other?
in this current market, with listings, you're going to sell your listing. Where, you know, like I'm in control. My sellers, you know, they're in control of, you know, of multiple offers and, you know, making sure that terms, conditions, price. Where when I'm with a buyer, there could be, you know, like, for example, I'm putting an offer, you know, on a house in Smithtown this afternoon, and there's 5 offers already. So, you know, I don't know if my buyers are going to get that house.
Okay.
Where,
Okay.
you know,
So it's a maybe that
Correct.
you even have a deal with them
Correct.
where when someone signs you up to sell their home,
Oh,
you
right.
know you're at least
Yeah.
locked in for what, 60 days or?
It's like 6 months.
Okay.
But if I can't sell your house within 30 days,
Goodbye.
I'm going to fire myself.
Right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Right. And
Because,
do
you know.
you find yourself also in a position where someone who maybe someone younger doesn't have a mortgage or they need help with an attorney? Is that something that you provide all like?
Yes, so you know, I do have a few attorneys I recommend. I have home inspectors that I would recommend.
Got a storage company.
When it comes to storage, I mean, you're my only guy, so
He's not lying. I've been very fortunate to your referrals.
No,
very fortunate.
Eddie Pods, that's my guy.
So, what are you seeing now in this market? It's been kind of really doesn't seem like it's stopped really.
It's not stopping.
Do you think there's a shortage here?
Oh, absolutely. So, you know, Long Island overall is a boomer population. My mom is going to be 75 next month, and she bought her house 47 years ago. She's bad for my real estate business, for sure. She's never moved. And I think she paid like 5 raspberries back in 1977. You know, and you know, she hasn't had a mortgage, I think, since Clinton.
Oh, Jesus.
But 38% of Long Islanders do not have mortgages.
And what percentage have mortgages below 4%?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, then you have that other, you know, the other caveat where you do have, you know, how many people refinanced during the COVID?
Right.
You know, 2%,
2.65, baby.
Yeah, 3%.
I would assume it makes it hard, like that makes a push on inventory.
Correct, because they're not moving.
You know,
yeah, I say it's like, where can I move?
You can't.
That's cheaper now.
Out of state.
correct. You can't move, it's cheaper, but there's still that part of the industry. When you have to move, you move. And you're not worrying about the fucking interest rate. When you have to move, whether it's work-related, family-related.
I do think that's probably the minority versus the majority of
Right
people
now,
right now.
what I deal with
Okay.
is death, divorce, and people moving south. And, you know, I mean, do I deal with people that are moving locally? I do. But the majority of my people, unfortunately, have either passed away or getting divorced and are moving south.
And so when you see people moving south, where are they going?
Tennessee, Texas,
South
Florida,
Carolina.
South Carolina, North Carolina.
Are you seeing any of the migration back from
I am
Florida?
not.
Okay.
I get like 2 reverse trips a year.
You know, only because you just see the market in Florida. They keep saying that the
yes.
correction, or it could be
But
like
Tennessee, last year I moved 3 people to Tennessee.
That's the new hot spot
I
from
mean,
what I'm
that's-
seeing.
yeah.
The new hot spot
You know.
right outside of Nashville
Yep.
is just blazing.
You know, but I just think that, you know, a bigger trend that I'm seeing is, there used to be like the starter home.
Right.
There's no more starter home. So like this Friday,
Starter home.
I'm selling a young couple their first house for $900,000.
Christ.
But they're going to be in that house now for the
Forever.
next
You don't
20
really
to
have
30 years.
Right.
So
Unless he dies.
I mean, he's nice. I hope he doesn't. But yes, But I mean, that's the thing on Long Island. Like, no one is downsizing on Long Island because it's too expensive. So either you're moving out of state.
Because you downsize, you pay more than you're paying.
Correct.
Yeah, right. The economics aren't in line.
It just
yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like my mom. I can get my mom by $850 for her house in Melville. What am I going to put her in Country Point and Plainview for $800, and have taxes and maintenance that are more than my mom's paying to live in her house?
Yeah, right.
Like, it just does not make
the
sense.
same exact situation,
So
yeah.
all these first-time home buyers, they're like, forget it. We're going to go for the gusto, and we're just going to go $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, and we'll have to buy out forever home for the next 30 years and raise the family.
Right.
So we're going to continue having a shortage on Long Island because it's just, let's start building skyscrapers, which I don't think we're going to do.
From what you're seeing, and I'm going to compare it to what I'm seeing, what's the hottest spot in Florida in what you're saying?
Oh, it's definitely like Boynton, Boca.
For me, it's St. Augustine.
I mean,
Just
Tampa.
I've done 5 moves to St. Augustine in the past
I
month.
have 3 clients that they all just bought in Boca and Boynton.
Which I hear those areas are hot, but then there's other parts of Florida that you're seeing crazy.
Empty homes.
Right.
Empty homes.
It's definitely interesting. I mean, listen, my last normal market was 2019. If you bought 2019 or before, like 2012 to 2019, you doubled your price of your house.
Yeah.
I have 3 times my house.
Yeah,
I bought in 2001.
Yeah.
I understand it, but my house isn't worth what they're asking. It's not.
Is anything worth what it's asking?
No.
Right. Well, it's what someone will pay.
Of course.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
That's always what it is.
So-
I had a house in Huntington, $750, went for $875. I mean, it's just, it was a very nice cape. Don't get me wrong.
It's a cave.
But it's a
cave.
Well, I know you're connected to a lot of different organizations. Are you seeing anything that is coming down the pipeline to relieve some of the housing shortage in Long Island? Nothing.
No. I mean, I serve for the town of Huntington. I serve on the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. And it's not about affordable housing. It's really about attainability. I mean,
So what is affordable? I'm sorry. What does affordable housing mean?
It's a bunch of crap.
Well,
It means that when you build a new development, there's a small
10%
percentage that has to
it
be
depends,
at a
10,
lower rate.
20%.
So, are you involved in any of the sales of the new one on Pulaski and Elwood Road?
No, that's Housing Help. My friend Pilar is in charge of that. The lottery is open for that one.
Is that low-income housing, or there's going to be a few units available for it?
I mean, there are monetary restrictions. They're really trying to give people an opportunity.
But in all honesty, how safe would you feel living right next to a power plant? Literally right next door. It's right behind the place.
Listen, plenty of people live on double line roads. People live next to the LIRR. It just
They'll pay to be there.
they'll pay to be there. I had a piece of land that I sold. A developer bought it, subdivided 2 lots, and it's behind a power plant. And he got $1,075,000 for each house.
All right, I am done. 2 questions.
Yep.
Last 2. You get the first one, I get the second one.
So, obviously, you've been in real estate 21 years now or so. This might be a little bit easier for you, but where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? As far as your business goes?
My business, I'm hoping it's going to continue the trajectory that it's been going. Every year it gets better and better. My goal is I have about another 10 to 12 years on Long Island. And then once my younger daughter graduates in 2033, then my wife and I will reevaluate where we want to be in this world.
And you'll find out if your house is too cheap to move. Right.
And I worry about, my daughters are 10 and 12. I worry about, the sustainability for them in the next 15 to 17 years if they want to stay on Long Island.
Right.
Because, what houses are now, I mean,
What's it going to be when they
what's it going to be, in 2035?
For me, and I've said this before, I do want to move south. I do want to go to South Carolina once the kids are all, up and about and on their own. But if I wait, it'll be better because I could trade this $800,000 house for an $800,000 house down there that's a lot nicer than mine up here.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Last question. Living or dead, if you could have dinner with one person in the history of the world, who's that one person?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's mine. Whoa, you're the
He's
first
quick.
one to ever say
It's
that.
almost like prepped. Yeah, it was really quick.
Wow, why? You're that curious?
I'm very curious.
Same here, man.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. We've had 32 guests on. No one's ever said Moses.
And no
or
one's given an answer that quick either.
No.
Yeah.
No, because because people have asked me that before, and it's always the same answer. If you have, any time, any day, it'd be Jesus
That would
Christ.
be mine. That would be mine. I always laugh because, I'm not Catholic, I'm Jewish, but I've been in church for my whole adult life. And I always see people dressing up and people criticizing those who don't dress up. And did you see what that one was wearing? And this one was wearing? I'm like, Jesus was wearing a robe and sandals, man. Isn't it just good that you're here?
Yeah.
Do we have to make it about how good you look? Maybe they can't afford good clothes,
I don't judge anybody.
So you're going to look into the camera. You're going to fix all the corrections.
All right.
Tell us your company, your name, how we can find you.
All right, so it's Eliot Lonardo, Lonardo, Eliot 1L1T @gmail.com. I'm with Signature Premier Properties in Huntington, and we have 23 offices throughout Long Island. And my cell phone is 631-374-6555. And once again, 631-374-6555. And you can get me on Facebook or on Instagram. I'm the only Eliot Lonardo. Eliot Leonardo, my Ninja Turtle cousin, he's somewhere out there. But,
How
thank
about you, Mark? How can we reach you?
Mark Simpson, SEM Holdings. We handle all your loss prevention needs for retail, pharmacy, and now even cannabis as well. 917-414-4027.
I'm Eddie Pods. If you are interested in relocating or having me come in and talk to your sales team, you get me at 631-334-8587 or eadelman@pods.com. Have a great day, y'all. We'll see you at episode 33.
Thank you.